Welcome back. It's the 25th today. A little late, but YieldMax reported their Group B distributions. Just want to give a brief update. As you can see, they announced them here on the X.com account. Let's see, overall, PLTR PLTY was pretty stellar at 4.65, 1.84. Then some of the big ones, NVIDIA was 67 cents, Facebook was 52 cents, and looks like Murni was 12 cents. Then the weeklies, YieldMax 13 cents, YMAG 9 cents. I put these into my spreadsheet, as I usually do, to break down the percent payouts and such. That said, I got the weeklies here, compared them to last week, pretty standard. As you can see, I mean, a cent off, basically. It looks like the RDTY was a little bit higher, but other than that, everything was within a penny. And then looking at the monthly payouts, I guess once again, the video a little lower than it was last month. Other than that, a lot of stuff was pretty similar. Baba was a bit small. JPMO though, JP Morgan was at 56 cents. That's 3.62% for the non-volatile bank. YieldMax ETFs pretty good. Murni, once again, 13 cents, was 18 cents last month, but with a 2.52 ETF price, 13 cents on that basis is pretty good at 5%. The PLTY and Mara, both above 7-8% range, pretty stellar. But just as a quick update, rather than use a spreadsheet going forward, I did put this on my website here. I'll put a link in the description, but basically here's what it looks like. And then you go into the YieldMax ETFs. And then right here, once it loads, of course, is basically all your monthly paying YieldMax ETFs. And you can sort them however you like. You can sort them by, currently they're sorted by alphabetical order. You can sort them by inception date. OARK and Tesla, some of the oldest ones. Shows you the initial price, the current price, or at least a recent price, depending on when the code runs, when this gets updated. But then it'll show you the recent dividend, so the most recently paid dividend. The percent return, so taking the recent dividend, dividing it by the current ETF price, and then assuming that dividend rate would apply for 12 months, it gives you what that would be annualized out. And then here, this column here, I guess you can't see the entire column name, but this is the cumulative dividend paid. So since inception, this is how much the dividends or the distributions added up to. Clearly, the funds have been around longer, have had more time to accumulate. So some of the newer funds down here, not as much time. Although, you look at PLTY, came out at 50 and it's already paid out at over $28 in distributions. So I say the funds that have been around the longest have had more time, but the ones with immense volatility and immense option premium have done quite well for themselves as well. And then if you take the cumulative return, you add it to the recent price, it gives you your total return. For example, OARK came out at 20. If you would have kept it, it's currently at $7.54, although it's paid $12.78 in dividends. So your total return on that is basically made 32 cents or 1.6% over the duration of the investment. So you're basically flat, which a pretty long duration there. So not the best investment, but the total return in this column here, you can see Tesla's in a similar spot. The ETF price has fallen so much, but the cumulative dividend is quite high, so therefore you're sitting just about even. But if you wanted to sort these, I guess by their return percentages, you can do that. So this kind of ranks the best funds to be in, assuming some funds have had longer duration. So I guess it's not an apples to apples comparison. But if you're just based on total return, such inception date for all these funds, you can see Misty here is the best at 189% return. Started at 20, currently is at 23, paid out $34 in dividends. So your total return's sitting at about 58. So that's pretty good. And NVIDIA's been good. Coney's been good. Yeah, PLTY, one of the newer ones. Just such a staggering dividend, and additionally the ETF price is up. So combining those two together, you get a pretty good return. So yeah, you can use this sort method to, I guess, sort based on which funds you want to see based on what kind of sorting mechanism. As far as total return, if you based on that, you can see, or not total return, I want to look at cumulative return. So Misty's paid out, if you added up all the dividends, $34.52. And this is also seen if you go to the Group B, go to, I guess Misty would be Group D, Misty would be Group D. But if you go to Misty's chart here and you check out their price plus cumulative distribution, you can see their cumulative distribution here in green, $34.52. That should line up with what's shown here, $34.52. So just wanted to show interaction between this table and those graphs. And then finally over here, I got the kind of the conditionally formatted heat map bar chart showing you this is taking the most recently paid dividend as a percentage of the current ETF price and showing you basically what funds as a percentage of the current ETF price are paying the highest. Clearly the ones that are the highest here. So looks like Tesla here. Recent dividend was 66 cents. Recent price, $8.15. We're getting a percent payout, percent return over 8%. So that was why that one's so high. I believe I thought I had the metrics that would post next to those. Let me check those, make sure. I can't have the numerical value pop up actually showing you the percent. But there's also a legend down here, if I can get down there close enough. But yeah, so this chart basically just lines up with the percent return chart. So yeah, this is 5, this is 8, this is 4.73, 7.57. So the highest paying ones as a percentage of the ETF price, Tesla, PLTY. I guess I could also just, I can actually sort, and then that should show you the sort. So the worst ones have been, as a percentage of the ETF price, Microsoft, Apple, Disney, Exxon, PayPal, Google. And you'd expect the lower volatility names. Although JP Morgan, like I said, they had a good quarter because I would view them as a bank being lower volatility than some of these tech companies. But I expect them to be somewhat similar to Exxon. But they had a pretty good month paying 56 cents. They're usually at the bottom of the list, but for this month, they're up here. And then towards the top, as you get to the top, you get more of the Bitcoin-related names, some of the semiconductor-related names, cryptocurrency, and then you get a couple of the ones that just their NAV value is so low, like Murni and the C3AI one, 13 cents and 23 cent dividends, but as a percentage of $2.56 or $4.76. As a percentage, they're paying out nearly 5%. Then you got, there's your NVIDIA. And then GDXY is actually up here because gold, I guess, recently has been pretty volatile. People are tracking the metals markets would see. So then that one's up here as well. But yeah, I just want to point this out. I probably won't be covering the spreadsheet anymore. I took the manual input out of it. I will be adding something for the weeklies. I don't cover those yet. I'm just covering the monthly payers. But yeah, so Group B came out. If you did just want to look at Group B, I do get the little filter button over here. So you can just click Group B. And here's the Group B ETFs. As I said, Morrow and Palantir, Stellar, with their 8.24% and 7.57% distribution rates based on the underlying ETF price. And then Murni, once again, that's been doing pretty good for people who are new to the ETF and didn't experience the downfall from $20 to $2. But NVIDIA is solid once again. And with some of the recent market bullish trends, some of the NAV values are starting to make a comeback following kind of the NAV destruction that happened following the tariff announcements. But yeah, Facebook actually was the lowest in terms of a percent, which makes it look like Group B is a pretty good one to be invested in. If Facebook's the lowest percentage one, if you're looking for the actual high distribution income. And then if you wanted to jump in any of these, of course, you can go to Group B here. I have them all listed if you want to take a look at any of them on an individual basis. Let's just jump in NVIDIA here quick. If you want to just take a look at their distributions per share, we're at 67 cents, which kind of been on a downhill trend lately. It would be nice to get another one of these buck 50 plus ones to come back in. We'll see. But as a comparison, once again, starting with 2000, the YieldMax ETFs, based on whether you reinvested the dividends or not, you're pretty similar. Turned 2000 about 43 or 4,400. Of course, if you were to just invest in the underlying stock, you'd be sitting at 7,000. So this just offers a comparison between those scenarios. This will continue to update even as new distributions are announced. And then once again, we just keep chugging along. NVIDIA is in the 14 range now, but with the $29.38 cumulative distributions, this green bar just keeps going. So for those that find that interesting, we invested $20 and have already returned $29.38 on that initial investment. So if you're not reinvesting those dividends and just keep them in a checking account, you can't lose that money. You're basically playing with the house's money at the moment. And hopefully the trends can continue. Get some NAV balance recovery, and hopefully keep those good dividends incoming. But yeah, I don't know if you had any thoughts on Group B. I was basically maybe I should just take a look at Palantir quick, or PLTY. This one seems to be one of the ones that's doing the best in the current market scenario. So you can see the distributions. It came out at 50, so just keep that in mind. Standard YieldMax funds just come out at 20. So you got about 2.5 times. That said, if you look at these distributions, $2, $3, we got up to almost $6, and then $5 and $4.65. So if you were to accumulate those, even though it's only been around paying a dividend since November of last year, the cumulative dividend is just really chugging along, $28.04. So if you would have made a $50 investment, you got $28, or you almost got, 60% of your investment back. And on top of that, your actual investment, the actual ETF price, is above where you initially bought it. So very good investment. That said, owning the underlying stock of Palantir, of course, would have been better. But for those looking for the distributions and like the concept of that monthly cash flow coming in, yeah, PLTY is almost doubled your investment. Yeah, I got to change. This is basically the underlying stock price of Palantir since it came out. Perhaps this is a better chart showing this is your kind of total return with your ETF price here in the light blue, cumulative dividend in the green, and your total return in the purple here. But yeah, I'm going to look to keep enhancing this website to show these kind of metrics for those who have interest in following them. But thanks for tuning in today.